Hello everyone, welcome to the new unit in the OL and it's called Into the Past. And to talk about the past, we are going to use our time machine to go back to the ancient times. So make sure that you have got your seatbelt and let's move on. For now, we are going to talk about the new vocabulary and the first word, it's called arch. Yes, arch. And it means a structure with a curved top that is supported by straight sides, sometimes forming the entrance or built as a monument. And to give you a clarification of this word, we will see this picture. Yes, we can see the arch usually in our mosques. And to give you an example for this, we are going to say homeless people slept under the railway arches. Okay, again, homeless people slept under the railway arches. Now let's move on to the next word and it's called castle. Yes, castle. And it means a large, strong building with thick, high walls and towers. Built in the past by kings or queens or other important people to defend themselves against attack. And you must make sure that you know the other word of this castle, and it's called citadel. But here we have a difference between castle and citadel. We said that castle is to defend the people, but citadel is to stay. Yes, castle to defend and citadel is to stay. Now let's move on and give you an example for the castle word. I'm telling you, the castle overlooks the town. That means if you stand in the castle, you will see all the town. Now let's move on to mosque. Yes, mosque. And it means a building in which Muslims worship. And for this, I'm going to tell you, the mosque gets full on Fridays. Now let's move on to the museum. Yes, museum. And it means a building in which objects of artistic, cultural, historical, or scientific interest are kept and shown to the public. Again, a building in which objects of artistic, cultural, historical, or scientific interest are kept and shown to the public. And for this, I'm going to tell you, there is a gift shop in the museum. Now let's move on to pyramid. Yes, pyramid. And it means a solid shape with a square or triangular base and sloping sides that meet in a point at the top. Again, a solid shape with a square or triangular base and sloping sides that meet in a point at the top. And for this, I'm going to give you an example, and it's ancient Egyptians built stone pyramids as a place to bury their kings and queens. Now let's move on to ruins. Yes, ruins. And it means the parts of a building that remain after it has been destroyed or damaged. And for this, I'm going to tell you, homeless people can live in houses, ruins. Now let's move on. Here I have some new words, and the first one is stadium. Yes, stadium. And it means a large sport ground surrounded by rows of seats and usually other buildings. I'm telling you, the Reds, Liverpool, are building a new stadium. The next word is statue. Yes, statue. It's like Statue of Liberty. And it means a figure of a person or an animal in stone, metal, or etc. And for this, I'm going to say The statue stands in one of the main square. Now let's move on to the next word, and it's called temple. Yes, temple, and it means a building used for the worship of a god or gods. And to say an example for this, I'm going to say they went to pray in the temple. Now let's move on to the last word, and it's theater. Yes, theater, and it means a building or an outdoor area where plays and similar types of entertainment are performed. And for this, we're going to say he writes the sort of dialogue that makes good theater. In this sentence, theater here is a noun. It's not the place, but it's called, and it is referring to the literature of theater. Here I can tell you, I went to the theater on Saturday. That means the place where the plays are performed. Now let's move on. And here, how to use must or mustn't. Must is used to say that something is necessary or very important, something involving a rule or a law. For this, I am going to say students must arrive at school on time. This is a rule, so students mustn't arrive at school in time. Now let's move on to mustn't. And mustn't is used to say that something is prevented or it's prohibited to do it. In the library, you mustn't eat or drink. You must be quiet. That means you cannot eat and drink in the library. But what you have to do is to keep quiet. Now let's move on. Now we have a passage to read. An amazing day out. I visited Abydos last week with my cousins. There is so much to see. Temples, amazing art, and ruins in the desert. I'm not usually very interested in history, but this place is awesome. It's really amazing. Get a guide. The ruins at the Karnak temple were amazing and we really enjoyed our visit. It's a big place, so you need a few hours to walk around it. It's also a good idea to get a guide to tell you all about the history. Go back to the Roman times. I visited the Roman theater in Alexandria with my cousins last week. It's easy to imagine what life in Roman times was like here. There are also statues, and the ruins of a temple in the museum there. It was great fun. Now we will get some extended vocabulary from the passage. And the first one, it's called amazing. Yes, amazing. And it means very surprising, especially in a way that makes you feel pleasure or admiration. And to give you an example for this, I'm going to say, I saw the most amazing film yesterday. Now let's move on to the next word, and it's called ancient. Yes, ancient. And it means very old or having existed for a very long time. And for this, I'm going to say the area is still covered by huge ancient forests. Now let's move on to the next one, and it's called awesome. Yes, awesome. And it means very impressive, very good and enjoyable. And for this, I'm going to say, hey, come look at this. It's awesome. Now let's move on to the next word, and it's called historic. Yes, historic. And remember this word, especially this word. And it means important in history, likely to be thought of as important at some at some time in the future. Yes, again, important in history, likely to be thought of as important at some time in the future. And for this, I'm going to say the president took a historic procedure to overcome the homeless crisis. And let's move on to the last word here, and it's called interesting. Yes, interesting. And it means attracting your attention because it's special, exciting, or unusual. Again, attracting your attention because it's special, exciting, or unusual. And for this, I'm going to say, I find her ideas really interesting. Let's move on. Here, we will talk about the difference between the two words, historic and historical. And historic means important in the history, and as we said before, it affects the future like historic decisions. And historical means connected to the past or the study of the history, like a book, film, or movie about people and events in the past. And now let's get a quick look on this. And it's just a fine note. It will not take too much time. Here, if I want to ask for information on the phone and to answer this. Number one, I can say, how can I help you? This I'm asking you if I can help you or not, and how can I do it? And hello, can you tell me this when I want to ask for an information on the phone? Can you tell me? And to answer this, I'm going to say, certainly, of course, it is, and I'm going to tell you. And I would like to know what time, that if I'm asking about the time of the event or something. Or, can I buy? And this, of course, when I want to buy something. And to thank someone, I should say, thank you for your help. Now let's move on to talk about the past continuous tense. As we know, and as we have taken before, that the past continuous tense refers to an action that was happening in an exact moment in the past. So, I use was or were preceded by the subject and followed by the gerund. Like I'm telling you, I was playing tennis at 9 yesterday. But today we are going to use the past continuous tense with while and when. But here, let's have a quick look. Use I was, we were doing something to talk about actions that happened over a period of time in the past. I'm telling you, he was reading all morning. They were traveling for a long time. And if I want to use the past continuous tense with the past simple tense in the same sentence, I have to use while and when. But before we use this, let's go together and you have to write this down. If I have two actions, it's like I was playing, and when I tell you the lights went out. For the beginning, we should know what is the longer action and what is the shorter action. As we said before, the past simple tense refers to an action that happened and finished in the past. So it happened and finished. And when I'm telling you, I use the past continuous tense to refer to something that was happening for a period of time. That means the longer action here should be the past continuous tense, and the shorter action should be the past simple tense. So to use while, we use just as and while before the longer action. So after while and as, we will use the past continuous tense. I'm telling you, as we were walking into the museum, we saw some huge statues. That means I stopped walking into the museum when I saw the statues. And I use when before the shorter action, and here I use when before the past simple tense. I'm going to say we were looking around the museum when Amir found some tall doors. And something new here that we can use while and two longer actions or two long actions in the same sentence. Like when I tell you, while I was studying, my mother was cooking. Here, the two actions are long, so they didn't interrupt each other. But when I say while plus the longer action and to the other part of the sentence I use the shorter action, that means the shorter action stopped the long action. So when I have two long actions, I use while, past continuous tense, and for the other part of the sentence, I use the past continuous tense. And thank you so much for watching us. And now it's time to answer some exercises. Number 1, choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Number 1, the trip was amazing. So, scary, pleased, awesome, or boring. Now you will take your 3 seconds to answer this question. Yes? And the answer is yes, the trip was awesome. It was amazing. We call something is when it's very old, new, modern, patient, ancient. So, you have your 3 seconds. Yes, we call something is ancient when it's very old. Now let's move on to number 3. People build to pray in. So, statues, ruins, castles, or mosques. So, yes, people build mosques to pray in. Now let's move on to number 4. The museum is full of and many other historic objects. So, yes, it must be statues. The museum is full of statues and many other historic objects. Number 5, we are proud of our handball team. They won the cup. So, it's so easy. Yes, we are proud of our national handball team. They won the cup. Now, number 6, in the past, people built to watch their favorite sports. So, to watch the sport, you must go to the stadium. And yes, the answer is in the past, people built stadiums to watch their favorite sports. Now, number 7, we bought a new house with a large entrance, wall, ruin, or castle. Yes, so easy. So the answer is going to be yes, we bought a new house with a large entrance. Now, number 8. Children must learn how to politely all the time. So, treat, behave, do, or make. Yes, the answer is behave. It's the way you treat people. Number 9, when I look out of my bedroom window, I have a beautiful location, sight, view, or review. So easy. So you will take your 3 seconds. And yes, when I look out of my bedroom window, I have a beautiful view. They didn't complete this building at all. These are thousands of years ago. So, yes, it will be these rooms are thousands of years ago. Now 11, this old castle to the Romans times. Yes. So, it will be, yes, dates to the Roman times. When you travel to a historic place, you should a guide. So you should get a guide. Now number 13, many people are interested in watching football matches. Number 14, students usually bring lunch with them on trip. So bring packed lunch. Packed lunch. It's the last one. Number 15, this book is very interesting. I recommend it to you. That means I want you to read it. Now let's move on to choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. These questions are about the grammar. So number 1, at school, you listen to your teacher. Yes, you must listen to your teacher. Number 2, you be home on time, don't be late. So you must be home on time. Now number 3, you turn the music up too loud, you will harm your ears, or our ears, So you mustn't turn the music up too loud, you will harm our ears. Now number 4, you do the housework, our mother is ill. So you must do the housework. Number 5, this was a nice evening, we must meet again. Now let's move on to number 6. You brush your teeth 3 times a day. It's good for your teeth. So you must brush your teeth 3 times a day. Now number 7. You forget to do your homework regularly. Yes. So you must, or you must to, you mustn't to, or you mustn't forget. It will be yes. You mustn't forget to do your homework regularly. Number 8. You be kind to your friends. So you must be kind to your friends. Number 9, it's late. You never make so much noise. So you must never make so much noise. Because never here makes the sentence in a negative form. Now read and correct the underlined words. You mustn't study hard. So it will be, yes, you must study hard too. If you want to pass your exams. Number 2, you mustn't using. As we said before that must and mustn't are followed by the base form of the verb, not the gerund. So it will be you mustn't use a mobile phone in class. Number 3, you mustn't to forget. No, it will be you mustn't forget your bag and books. Number 4, students and teachers are polite to each other. No, it will be must be polite to each other. And now we have answered all these questions orally. So it's your turn to answer them again yourselves. And thank you for watching us.